Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're going to be taking a look at neutral Bloodcraft. All the usual suspects, the Troves, the Scarlet Sabers, the Knuckle Bodyguards, Spawn of the Abyss, Goblins, Alice, you name it, Blood runs it. Also the Triple Revelations, really strong clear. Diabolic Drain, pretty good tech for both healing and clearing out things, which is nice, especially bigger threats. Obviously a Bahamut, which is a cheap draw, Bandersnatch, which you'll see does actually pull off a worthwhile play for once. I rarely use him, so maybe dropping him to 2 in this deck would be better, but outside of that card, I think every other card is quite nicely balanced in this deck. You could maybe swap out the Healing Angels. The Troves are way too much value though, and the Scarlet Sabers are just a really great way to close out a game if you need to, which you'll also see. Other than that, this deck runs really well at the moment. It's a really strong presence deck. You know, you can easily early aggro out, or you can go for the mid to late game with Spawn of the Abyss, which works pretty wonderfully. So we'll get right into the games. So game 1 here is against Shadow. I'm pretty sure they're playing the Nep Ledger Shadow. Don't know whether it is a new variation, I only really get to see a few cards. We start out with probably one of the more optimal hands, being able to have Trove in our opener, along with a neutral to play on 3. Trove is a great little card. The effect that it gives off is pretty great. Being able to not be able to attack means it's less likely to be targeted straight away in a lot of cases. But people will start to catch on to that. The Spawn of Abyss in our hand is a little clunky. Everything else actually curves out really nicely. For example, Goblin Leader fits this curve perfectly, and them only having a 1/1 that can't hit them is really good. Trove also works well in combination, so you play it on 5 with Unicorn Dancer or something, sorry, on 4, and you can deal 3, which is nice if you want to clear something. So from here I decide, you know, Big Knuckle's a good option, being able to get rid of something with 3 health, then just evolve. Ramming 6 to face, putting them on 11 super early. These first couple of games are actually really short, with the third game being a little longer. It just shows how quickly these neutral blood decks can clear house. Between this and Sword, I think they're probably my top 2 picks at the moment meta-wise, with Rune being pretty damn close because Rune has a really good matchup against both. The only disadvantage is Rune can lose heavily to other things, such as Haven, if you're not careful. So we get to push exactly 9 damage with that Scarlet, going for a perfect lethal game 1. Now we're going to game 2 versus Haven. I'm not sure whether it's a Storm or Tempo variant Haven or neutral Haven. It's a little hard to tell at the moment because Storm and Tempo and neutral are all running the similar amulet sets. From what I've noticed, neutral's a little easier to tell, but definitely harder when it comes to the Storm and amulet variants. So we do start with an okay hand. The Unicorn Dance is good, the Big Knuckle's pretty good as well. Fortunate part about versing Haven is they're very unlikely to have an opener, so usually you can ping off a couple of damage right in the first few turns, provided they aren't able to easily clear your first drop, which they fortunately don't here. These are all master games, by the way, so this is, you know, pretty much how the current meta is looking at the moment. So we get another 4 damage. So 6 damage, turn 4. Along with just playing out this 2-3 because I think, well, they're not playing anything else. They've just played a Birdsong. So there's nothing that I could really need to worry about that's really heavy other than Priest to the Cudgel, which would still leave me with something on board. And probably get killed by Big Knuckle. So I thought, why not? Unfortunately we draw into Alice, allowing us to deal an extra 2 damage on top of what we could do this turn. Putting them super low. So they're left with 6. And we're left with a really solid board. So this is another really quick game. They go for a Snow White, but playing that, unless they have something to go along with it, there's really no way to deal with this board. So their only option would be to try and proc Tribunal using Follow Dogma, which I think is what they lined up to do. That way they can get rid of a couple things here. Fortunately, they do concede, they must realise there's no option left, so that's not bad for us. Now the third and final game is Runecraft. Probably one of the few decks that hit Blood and Sword really hard, Earth Rune. Mostly Burst Earth Rune. Also there is a control variant that's quite powerful, which is pretty much what I'm versing is more the control orientated version, where they use Professor of Taboos and such to kind of just stall them out. So I do start with a pretty good hand, double Trove. The only unfortunate part is I have no neutral to trigger them currently, but it shouldn't be hard to pull a neutral from here, other than Alice, but Alice isn't a really good neutral to try and trigger Trove with. So I just play it out going, you know, may as well. Worst case I play another Trove next turn and then Alice. And I just realised it's Tove and not Trove. Well, anyway, I do get the Goblin Leader, which lets me attack with the Trove. I don't know. I think Trove is still my preferred pronunciation. But we do end up with the 1/2s flooding our board. Fortunately, they do end up going for a trade. And just throwing out a little bit of Magic Illusionist. Not too big a threat. I do go for the Alice. No real advantage other than getting +1/+1 on the Goblin and putting a 3/4 on board. Mainly looking for that body. Being able to put out a big body like that was really preferred, and I knew just killing that magic was going to be kind of pointless. If I had have cleared the magic, sure they couldn't have played Golem, but it would have been a pain to deal with in the long run. I was better off just making them trade. And now Big Knuckle has really good trades. So we push out that Big Knuckle, allowing us to get rid of all their Earthrights and their magic. And also deal with the 6/2, which is pretty respectable, honestly. Being able to kill that 6/2 and leave a 5/4 on board. So we do have Revelations, which is an amazing clear. We just need a way to trigger it. Unfortunately, we don't get that. But we do have the Trove and the Goblin Leader combination, so that, like I said before, allows it to gain Rush and allows it to attack straight away, which works out really well for getting rid of small threats like that, especially in this kind of mid-section game, right before a Bandersnatch play. Still a card I don't like much and probably will drop to 2 Bandersnatch, just not effective enough, running it at 3. Some others might have more success than me personally, but I've just found Bandersnatch to be dead too many times to count. But in this case, it's actually not a bad play. This is one of the few games and few matchups where I actually think Bandersnatch works really nicely. And I'd actually have trouble replacing it. I'm not sure what I would put in its place yet, so it's just one of those cards that fits nicely where it is. Unfortunately, we don't get the lucky trade here, and it hits the Goblin. If we had been able to hit the 4/1, I could have probably easily went for face, dealt 12, and been pretty set. But instead, we decide to use Spawn as a trigger, getting 8 damage to their face, and then allowing the Bandersnatch to just, you know, ram into that, allowing it to proc its last word, so it will summon another Abyss, which I can then Revelations or just attack with for 6. So we're going to end this game in some style. As the next turn rolls in, we get to summon our Spawn, and we can just Revelations the board. Full clear, 6 damage to face. Pretty optimal. So while this deck definitely has some weaknesses in Bandersnatch being a dead card, few other smaller dead cards. That's why you're only really running one Emperor, because you only really need the one. Hungering Horde being okay in this meta, not great, because most things now are summoning things with different names, such as Goblin Leader and Card Council. Well, not sorry, Council of the Card Knights. All different names, making things more difficult on things like Hungering Horde to do full clear. But still functions really nice as just a 2-drop 3 damage. A little bit better than the other one. What is it? I forgot its name right now. Razor Claw, that's it. Razor Claw, 2 damage, 3, sorry, 2 play point, 2 to face, and then 3 to an enemy. Which just, it doesn't work quite as nicely as Hungering Horde, unfortunately. Big Knuckle Boxer, probably the MVP of this deck. It's an amazing 4-drop, fits in the same vein as Priest of the Cudgel, Dragon Warrior, everything like that. I was actually hoping Blood would get a card like that for this expansion, which is really nice. And then of course, you know, Alice being your big proc card, Grimnir's being your late game closer if you don't manage to pull off these spawns, and the Revelations being your board clear is pretty important. The only things to really change, I think I mentioned at the start, would be Healing Angel, maybe the Bandersnatch. You can mess around with swapping out Gourmet. Personally, I like 1, I think that's pretty good for the deck. I wouldn't swap really anything else. You need at least 2 spawns to do this deck properly. 3 is optimal because you have a better chance of drawing them out when you need them. Unicorn Dancers, all that sort of stuff's optimal. Other than that, you've only got, what, 6 legends, 6 golds, and the rest, sorry, not 6 golds, 9 golds, and the rest are silver and bronze, which is not too expensive really. It's not bad for a deck like this. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, you'll find the deck list in the description below along with the source. And I'll catch you guys next time. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. See ya.